With the recent Chicago Bulls signings, I think the training camp is going to be really interesting. I'm starting to see the path and what the Chicago Bulls are trying to do with the recent signings. Plus, Nikola Vucevic has also talked about how he's going to try to improve his three-point shot this offseason. All that and more, plus the mailbag right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Eric Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. And I'm really excited about the Chicago Bulls training camp. Now, I know I talked about training camp a couple of days ago when they announced the official training camp day with the media day, and then training camp starts the next day. But as this thing is going on, I think this is going to be a really fun Chicago Bulls training camp. We already talked about a lot of the storylines going into it, right? Like the fact that we have had so much change on this team. Alex Caruso, DeMar DeRozan are gone. Andre Drummond's gone. You got Zach LaVine returning from injury. Patrick Williams returning to injury. Kobe coming off one of the best season of his NBA career per role and everything else. Josh Giddey, how he comes in and acclimates to this team as well. Modest Bucilis, a rookie I'm super excited about. The growth from players like Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips. But then you have the crop of young guys that the Chicago Bulls team has also signed this offseason. We'll get into the E.J. Liddell signing and kind of what that group of recent signings means. But you even have Jalen Smith coming in here, who's a guy who's still extremely young, still has a lot to hopefully uncover in his game. We'll see how he rounds out here with the Chicago Bulls. But this may not be the most exciting Chicago Bulls season, right? And we'll see, how that goes. Of course, we'll be here every day during the season, so that's not, any type of surprise there. But I think overall with this training camp period and what it is that you not only have a team that's trying to establish an identity, which, really is something that we've been trying to do for quite a while, is really having an identity, but a new identity, right? Because for so long, the last couple of years, we were a team that, it was disappointing, right? But we could win some big games, DeMar DeRozan and his craftiness. But, we don't have that. And one of the things that I've talked a lot about this offseason that could really kind of make this season coming up for the Bulls kind of difficult is the fact that, DeMar, what he did in the clutch and how many, over 2/3 of our games were clutch wins last year. Now we're missing our best clutch player. So, somebody got to step up in that case. But also the new coaches, right? Are we really trying to adapt a new coaching style? And, before Billy Donovan comes in and gaslights us, at media day, you look at this team and you realize some things have to change about the team. They just do, right? Some major things about this team have to change. And, with that said, is that, is this the right coaching staff to do it? And how much does Billy Donovan actually match? And, my boy Winton, I always go to Winton when Billy Donovan comes up because I know anytime Billy Donovan name comes up, Winton gets a little hot behind the ears. He starts getting a little upset because the man can't stand Billy Donovan. And he's not wrong for the way that he feels about him. But, when it comes to it, it's like, Billy Donovan, this is your time now as well to show, all right, what do you do now with the different roster? Your roster has basically stayed the exact same for so long. What do you do now with a different makeup of your roster? Younger guys, a roster that really is kind of telling you that they're going to want to get up and down a little bit more in transition. Those type of things matter, right? And so, as we get closer, and let me not mix words. I would have been super excited about training camp anyway. I'm a Bulls fan. This is what I do damn near for a living at this point. So I'm always excited with the unofficial start of a new season, and that's what training camp has really always been. But now you're looking at this team and just the fact that things have to change, right, in some shape, form, or fashion. And that doesn't mean that they're going to change for the better, right? Let's be clear here. Doesn't mean we can make a lot of changes and be much worse, which, per a lot of people's guesses, is probably going to be the case here. So, all those things play a part into this. And I think when you're looking at this Bulls team, trying to forge a new identity, trying to incorporate new players, a young rookie, like Modest Bucilis, almost alone would have been a lot of reasons to be excited for training camp because one thing he's going to do, he is going to try to make an impact and make a name for himself in training camp and show that he belongs and he deserves to crack that rotation. And I think that doesn't do nothing but help, right? When you have somebody that's coming in that's so hungry and aggressive and doesn't back down like a modest Vucevic does, that's gonna filter out through the rest of your roster. Like the people who are gonna be on that bench unit with modest Vucevic going up against the starters, they're gonna feed off that. Well, theoretically, like you're not expecting a rookie necessarily to like dictate training camp, but that type of hunger is contagious on a competitive sports team, and so you're hoping that brings it in. Outside of even just modest Vucevic, you got Dalen Terry going into year 3, and this is usually the year where you need to start showing, hey, you've had now 2 years. 2 years where you haven't played a whole hell of a lot. You played, of course, more last season because it would have been hard to play less than you did your rookie year. But what do you bring? And I think he's another player that's going to be a little bit more aggressive about it as well. Julian Phillips, right? Then you got the veterans who are trying to either show that they still belong, they need to crack that rotation or whatever else it is. So I think this is going to be a really exciting period. And I think, this training camp period for the Bulls, not to say that it's going to change a lot of what our thoughts are, because I think that can only change during the regular season. But don't be surprised if you guys don't hear some competitive camp battles, that you guys don't hear about some competitive practices, that you guys don't hear about maybe Modest Vucevic going at Patrick Williams a little bit in practice and things like that. Like, those are type of things that you want to see from this team. And when you look at that and pair that with the recent signing by the Chicago Bulls, right? Like, yeah, we signed EJ Liddell yesterday. There's an emergency video up on the channel if you kind of want to break that all down. So I'm gonna condense it here if you want the kind of more detailed thing. But EJ Liddell was one of the players that I was really high on in the 2022 draft. I think that he is somebody who brings a lot of things that you want, right? As far as, just being able to, try to find a role, right? That he drew comparisons, of course, like Draymond Green, which we've had another player that drew comparisons to Draymond, and Denzel Valentine that didn't show up into anything, right? But I think when you look at EJ Liddell, when you look at THT, when you look at Kenny Lofton Jr., you can tell that it's a dual purpose behind these signings, right? Is that the Bulls are finally starting to use their G League system as a true system to see what they can develop into guys. EJ Liddell was somebody who came into that draft with a lot of people thought he could be one of the steals if he fell to the second round or even in the late first round. Now, he tore his ACL his rookie year. He spent a lot of time down in the G League last year. His G League numbers were really good for G League numbers. 17 points per game, 7.8 rebounds, 1.7 assists per game, almost 2 blocks per game as well. Doing that in 26 minutes, shooting the ball 50% from the field, 27% from three-point range, almost 80% from free throw range. EJ Liddell is the type of player that if the Bulls are going to go out and try to add to their G League team, these are the type of guys you want to take a shot on. 22, 23 years old. Kenny Lofton Jr., THT, EJ Liddell, all 22 to 23 years old, right? All guys that, as far as in THT and Kenny Lofton Jr., guys that have shown a little bit at the NBA level. EJ Liddell hasn't really done that, but again, I look at these signings as being more than likely G League signings. They're going to wind up on the Chicago Bulls G League team. Not to say that they may not have a chance to compete for that final roster spot. You throw in Ernolop Batum as well. Those are the 4 guys, because Ernolop's the only one with the non-guaranteed contract. Those are the 4 guys that are going to be competing over that last roster spot. And who's to say that maybe a THC doesn't outplay a Batum? Maybe Kenny Lofton Jr. does outplay it and ends up getting that last roster spot. I'm not necessarily expecting it. I'm kind of expecting all these guys to wind up on the Windy City Bulls next season, and that's perfectly fine, right? But I look at this deal, and to me, it's something similar. As much as similar as what you can do in basketball to NFL. When Ryan Poles took over the Chicago Bulls, he gave out a lot of one-year prove-it deals. Now, a lot of those one-year prove-it deals didn't amount to much of anything. You look at Byron Pringle and others, right? But he got in guys that had shown a little bit as depth pieces, and you wanted to see, okay, what can you do now at being part of the offensive game plan? And, that it didn't end up working out, right? But that's what you want to do. The benefit that the NBA has is that you have a developmental league that's meant there to be and to cultivate and develop talent. And so the fact that the Bulls, in going younger with their main roster, going younger, because keep in mind, last year we signed Derek Favors, who ended up being on our G League team. Instead of that, this year it's Kenny Lofton Jr., a player that's much younger, has more upside, and while Derek Favors had some solid games last season for the Windy City Bulls, I'd much rather see a 22, 23-year-old player getting that opportunity to show what they bring at the G League, because that's a higher potential of actually developing something into it. So I think when you look at it, that AK is finally starting to to really power. It seems like, right? We got to see how it's going to go over the season. Can't say for sure now. So let me throw in that qualifier. It seems like AK is finally starting to look at that G League and look at just the Bulls overall and saying, we have to start developing talent. We have to. If we're not developing talent, we're going to wind up in the same place that we were, where we have aging vets with players that we don't know who are going to be. So you got to start developing those guys. That's why you're going to see more young guys theoretically play on our rotation next year in regular season games, and you're going to see even a younger crop of players in the G League. You throw in Adama Sanogo, and you throw in DJ Stewart again as a point guard to the players that we're going to have there, and EJ Liddell, THT, Kennedy Lofton Jr. Those are all players that you can see the Bulls trying to try to develop and see if they can get anything out of, to where maybe they turn into your next crop of role players, especially for a team, right? The thing with the Chicago Bulls always is you're a team that does not pay the luxury tax, and that's fine. I know some Bulls fans think that that's not fine, and you're right to your opinion, but that's fine. But if you're going to not pay the luxury tax, you're going to not pay to bring in talent, you have to develop more, right? You have to take advantage of cheaper contracts and find quality cheaper contracts. And that's what it seems like the Bulls are doing here. So while the signing of EJ Liddell, a player that I was high on in that draft period, we ended up getting Dalen Terry and Justin Lewis, who Justin Lewis is now gone. I'm not mad at this. I'm not mad at what the Bulls are doing. I know there have been some people that have looked at it and said, THT, he doesn't fit the roster. This is confusing. EJ Liddell, he's 6'7". He's 6'6" without shoes on. He has a 7-foot wingspan. We need 7-footers, right? Kenny Lofton Jr., this is a guy who he's guard sized, right? You have all those guys saying those type of things, and I understand it, but these are young, promising pieces. And while it's not about, and the hardest thing, I keep saying that, I say that on every channel that I have, basically on Chicago Sky Central, on Chicago Bear Central, because it's true with all sports, is that the hardest thing to gauge is development. The hardest thing to gauge is what your team is trying to plan for the future. We live in right now. And as fans, we have that luxury of living in the right now. As a front office, I don't want a front office that's just living in the right now. Now, these deals may not work. They're low-risk deals, but they have the chance to give any type of reward. And so to invest a low risk into anything that could end up being something higher as far as paying off for you, I can't be mad at that. And so, for me, you guys know last season I did Windy City Bulls episodes. I did one episode a week covering that week in the G League for the Windy City Bulls. We're doing that again this season. And it's going to be exciting to see these guys down there in the G League, because this is going to be a physical team. This is going to be a team full of guys that are trying to prove themselves, right? We don't have like the guys anymore that are, we're going to have some of those, right? But the guys that really nobody's looking at, we got a lot of guys that, just a year or two ago, hell, in the case of THT and Kenny Lofton Jr., these guys were on NBA rosters. You pair to that EJ Liddell, a person who still has a lot of upside, doesn't mean he's going to hit it. You got Adama Sanogo down there as well, another guy who has tremendous upside. We'll see if he ends up hitting it. All those things play into a really good situation and role for these guys, and I, for one, can't be mad at it. So I look at it, and like I said, these are dual meaning signings, and I like them for what that they are. Again, in the confines and the context of what these signings are. These aren't signings meant to up the ceiling of your regular season roster. These are signings that are meant to say, hey, there may be something in these guys. And if there is, we're going to try to develop it. And then if we do develop it, we could sign those guys. They're still not going to command much more than a vet minimum contract or slightly above that. When they're not even vets. Minimum contracts are slightly above that. And then we can get 2 to 3 years of these guys slightly above the minimum, and they're still at that point 25, 26 years old, and we spent the last 2 years developing them. Listen, that's what good franchises do, and they're trying it. Now let's see how successful they are in it, but they are doing things that good franchises attempt to do. And while I know as Bulls fans, we want to see the signing that we just look at and say, bam, this is gonna solve this problem for our roster right now. That's not necessarily what these deals are meant to do. And, like I said, you guys have the right to every feeling that you have on it. And we'll see what comes out and how it shakes out. All right, with that said, I got one more topic before we get into it. We only got 2 voicemails today. One more topic between that. So in the Mark Stein interview, something that despite the talk, and I've done it myself, right? That, it's got carried by the mainstream. I even fell short on this. One thing that he did say is what he's been working on over the summer, saying this: Over the summer, it went well, and hopefully it continues to go well. It's a big thing, obviously, because nowadays a big man, if you can step out and shoot threes at a good percentage, it changes everything for you and the team and everybody. So it's definitely something I want to make sure I improve. It's like little things. I'm not changing my whole shot. It's the foot position, maybe staying in the shot a little longer, things like that. I'm not going to come back with a whole new jumper. It's more just tweaks that can help me be just more consistent with the shot. Now, if like me, you have Chicago Bulls trauma, the first thing that I thought when I read this is, Vooch, keep your big ass in the paint. That's the first thing that came to my mind when I saw this is, Vooch, keep your big ass in the paint. But if he's just talking about being able to be more consistent with it, right? Not necessarily shooting a bunch more volume, because that's not what we want from Vooch. Yeah, I'm not mad at him tweaking the shot, right? That's one thing that we heard from both Kobe and Ayo Dosunmu last year, and working with Peter Patton, is that he was kind of one of the first coaches to tell like Kobe to tweak a little something about his shot, because Kobe's always said, hey, I've always been such a good scorer. Nobody's really told me to change much with my shot. Has been kind of focused on other things. I would assume we'll talk about how Peter Patton sent him a video after every game of, hey, these were the good opportunities, these were the bad ones, and this is what you can start changing and working on. And I would assume we started working on that. We saw him have one of the best volume and percentages he shot from three for the Chicago Bulls. So, I'm not, and Vooch didn't mention Peter Patton in this, so I don't know if he's working with Peter Patton or not. It could be somebody completely different. So I'm not trying to put words in Vooch's mouth. But overall, I'll say this. I'm never mad at a player trying to improve their game. Now, if we see Vooch with a more consistent three-point shot this year, I'm not going to be mad at it. Again, it comes down to, where are you taking them? When are you taking them? Are you taking a huge volume? Are you shooting a much better percentage? Are you taking less, but because of the tweaks you made, you're making them at a higher volume? Whatever it is, right? I'm not mad at a veteran like Nikola Vucevic still trying to find ways to change and alter his game, because I think, again, DeMar DeRozan said it. Like, the one thing that we saw and learned from DeMar DeRozan with his time here is that DeMar worked on his game every single year, and he was somebody who felt like, hey, why can't I change a little something about my game every year? And because of that, you got to see how DeMar worked out and things like that. So, I'm happy with that when it comes down to it. And let's hope that anything that Vooch has worked on this offseason, let's hope that it helps him. Let's hope that it helps him, and then thus it overall helps the team. And if that's the case, then let that be the case. But all right, with that said, let's go ahead and get into some of these voicemails that we have for today, man. This first one that we have, this one is from Vaughn.
What's up, Hayes? I was just listening to your last video you dropped. So I got my own variation of a trade I came up with involving Zach LaVine. So I got a 4-team trade here. All right, we got Zach LaVine going to the Lakers along with Torrey Craig. The Lakers send out D'Angelo Russell to the Magic, and the Magic are sending Wendell Carter to the Raptors. Now, the Lakers also have to send out more money. So Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent are both going to go to the Bulls, and the Raptors are sending out Bruce Brown. Then the Bulls are also sending Javon Carter to the Raptors. So on whatever picks you want there, I would assume the Magic give up a second-round pick to the Lakers. Maybe the Raptors give up a second-round pick to the Lakers. But the Bulls get Bruce Brown, Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent. Lakers get Zach LaVine, Torrey Craig, 2 seconds. The Magic get D'Angelo Russell, and the Raptors get Wendell Carter and Javon Carter. And the reason for the Raptors doing this, they get under the luxury tax, which they're actually above the luxury tax by a little bit, if I'm correct. And then the Lakers save money. The Magic can absorb D'Angelo Russell and stay under the luxury tax, and the Bulls save a little bit of money as well, and also get an expiring contract in Bruce Brown. So let me know what you think about that trade. All right, peace.
All right, so Vaughn picking up on the call we got from CP yesterday in regards to a 3-team trade. He actually worked this out to be a 4-team trade, and something that I don't do a lot, right? He sent me the screenshots of the trade machine here, so I'm going to put this up to kind of to just get this in a place where everybody can see it. In this deal, and looking at this, right? The fact that, okay, so the Bulls in this deal are getting Bruce Brown, who I'm not mad at, a veteran bench piece, Rui Hachimura, who I'm still not mad at, Gabe Vincent, I'm not mad at the acquisition of Gabe Vincent either. Now, these aren't deals that I think are going to change the Bulls season a whole hell of a lot, but I'm not mad at these deals. Torrey Craig and Zach LaVine go to the Los Angeles Lakers. They also get a second-round pick from Toronto and a second-round pick from the Orlando Magic. The Magic are getting D'Angelo Russell, who could help them with their scoring, with a scoring punch off the bench. The Raptors are getting Wendell Carter Jr., which, all right, I know that they're going younger. They could be looking to move Jakob Poeltl, so maybe you're looking at there. And we get off the ball-headed hoe of Javon Carter. I'm not mad at this trade. Now, 4-team trades in the NBA are really hard to execute. I want to be clear that's why I put up the screenshot so you guys can see the trade while we're talking about this. But I don't think that this is necessarily a terrible trade. How realistic is it though, right? Gabe Vincent, a player that the Lakers signed. It's always weird when you sign former Miami Heat role players because they never quite turn out the way that you want to. Bruce Brown's a player that I guarantee the Denver Nuggets could want back. And a lot of these players you could look to flip. Hachimura is young enough to maybe he fits the new timeline of your team. Bruce Brown is a player that you could look to turn around and flip at the trade deadline, especially since now you're flipping Torrey Craig. Maybe you want to flip Bruce Brown, get some of those second-round picks back yourself, right? I think that that's a possibility. So it comes down to those things. Overall, right, I'm looking at this and I'm saying this isn't a terrible trade. This isn't a terrible trade at all. The Bulls kind of get off of what they need. They don't give up any other future assets, which is a key thing here. You have the chance. Now, the Bulls aren't getting any first-round picks back, which I know that a lot of Bulls fans are going to look at this and say, we're not getting any picks back yet again. So that adds to the fact that we moved DeMar DeRozan, only got a couple of seconds back. We moved Alex Caruso, didn't get any picks back. We moved Andre Drummond, didn't get any picks back. And on top of that, we sent out Zach LaVine and Torrey Craig and didn't get any picks back again. But I do think you can recoup some of those picks if you look to flip Bruce Brown, if you even look to flip Rui Hachimura, who, because you have Patrick Williams, because you have Matas Bucilis, you may look to keep those guys over Rui Hachimura, or maybe you look to flip a Patrick Williams if you feel like Hachimura is a better suited player for that. So maybe there. And I think Gabe Vincent, I mean, I'm not terribly mad at Gabe Vincent. It gets some bench depth, some guard bench depth, if Lonzo isn't healthy and stuff like that. So, I'm not mad at it. At the end of the day, I think that this isn't a great trade for the Bulls, but it is a trade that isn't terrible and you're not giving up assets. And it comes down to it to where the Bulls are looking to just move off of Zach and not give up assets, but they just want to get off the contract. Maybe this is something that they look to explore. But guys, let me know what you guys think on that down below. Shout out, I knew Vaughn was Vaughn is such a wizard with this whole trade machine shit. I knew Vaughn was going to call in on that. But all right, let's get into the next voicemail, the last one for today. This one's from Reginald.
Hey, this is Reginald from Georgia. I just want to comment on Boots. And I know a lot of Bulls fans are probably upset with him. I guess, showing doubt about the future of the team or the direction this team is going in, but he's not saying anything we all haven't said many times over. Like, if I were to ask you who's the leader on the team, the answer would be, I don't know. If you ask this team, looking to actually try to compete for a playoff spot, my answer would be, I don't know. And right now, not all of us, a lot of us are like, we can play season out, play January or whatever we can get. Hopefully it'll be a couple of expiring contracts. Essentially, not full-blown tanks, but mostly tanks. A lot of Bulls fans want that, top 10 pick. And then you have the other group who just wants to go full-blown tank. And I'm sure there are people in the front office who probably want that as well. So Bruce has every right to feel like he doesn't know what the Bulls team is trying to do, what the front office is trying to do. Because if we're being honest, they probably don't know what they're doing. They haven't really given us a lot to think on faith with them. So I think Bruce is just struggling with the fact that he's on a team that might not be trying to compete. Especially right now, what's your opinion?
I agree with you. Vooch is not saying anything that us as fans haven't felt. And I think that while sometimes it's the messenger, right? I think that Bulls fans, because of their just dislike of Vooch at this present point of where he is in his career, it leads itself to a lot of kind of anytime Vooch speaks out, there's going to be some vitriol in that. Like it's going to be there. But what Vooch is saying is not wrong. We don't know what the hell this team is going to be. We don't know, right? We can talk like I can squint my eyes and I can look at the analytics and things like that and think, hey, this thing could work together. Now, it working together as far as the players on the court doesn't mean we're still going to be a great basketball team. But I think overall, like it's a big air of uncertainty around what this Bulls team is going to be and how good are they going to be in whatever they're going to be next season. And I think Vooch is just sharing that doubt. And I think also, listen, Vooch understands what this is, and your time with the Bulls is probably coming up, whether it is the end of your contract at the end of next season or it's you being moved. I think that he's just realizing that the business of the game at this point has taken over anything else. And because of that, that's where we sit right now. But you guys can let me know what you guys think on all that down below. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. BullCentralPod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail, for the mailbag. The number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that's thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See Red if you can. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.